fact is, from everything that, I'm gonna go kind of reverse order for a second, and I'm gonna pull it together for what I do. So like Jabbar, our business is predominantly focused on essentially reverse wholesaling. So I didn't realize that though for like 6 months. Like it took me 6 months and about $40,000 or $50,000, not including the education that I paid for, of wasted marketing, time spent, countless hours, hundreds if not thousands of hours in between meetings and conference rooms, trying to hide at J&J, do my business on the side while I was still working a full-time commitment, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes down to it, I think the first thing is take inventory of what you know you're good at. Like you said, he's really good at dealing with people. So if you like to talk to people and you like helping bring people together, reverse wholesaling is a great concept. A lot of people call that co-wholesaling or joint venturing, but that term's kind of thrown around, and it's not really, something I like reverse wholesaling better.
That's the original word.
That is the original word. So he knows because he's been doing it a lot longer, so he knows that's what it is. But the fact is, that comes from the network. So this event, Nick in the back of the room actually, was the first event I ever went to personally. So I went to an event at Piscataway, New Jersey, and it was Nick's old office. And I remember being those chalkboards on the wall and stuff, and just people hanging out in a classroom and stuff. And I was kind of I was like, wow, this is interesting. A lot of people here. I didn't know anybody. I was a little nervous because my first meeting. And essentially just started talking to people, passing out a card that really said we buy houses or I buy houses or something like that, but I wasn't knowing what the hell I was doing. And so I'm talking to Nick. He's like, hey man, why are you doing this? Like, what's in it for you? Like, what's this all about? I'm like, I want to leave, I think, corporate America. I don't really know yet. But the fact is, that made a big difference because I met Nick. I started going to networking events after going to maybe 2 or 3 a week. I wasn't buying 2 or 3 houses a week like this other guy was, he said. But I was going to network events like they were basically the next step to buying a house or doing a wholesale deal. And I went to 2 or 3 of those a week, literally every single one I could find. I built up a Rolodex of probably about 500 contacts. And as I was still kind of struggling with direct mail and different types of marketing online, pay-per-click and things that you probably hear about and hear stories about, educational seminars, et cetera, I realized that stuff wasn't working, but when something triggered, I said, how about this concept of doing what they were telling me, co-wholesale? That was the terminology I was listening and hearing from my mentors at the time. And so I essentially said, who do I know that has a deal? I said, I know this guy, John, who does a lot of business in North Jersey, and he's been in the business probably 15 years at that time. I'm like, yeah, but John doesn't really need me though. He probably could do it himself. Like, why should I call John? I kind of second guessed myself. I was like, yeah, screw this. I'm just going to call John and see what he's got. I saw this deal come through in Hillside, New Jersey. So I reach out to him like, hey John, I don't know if you need my help or not, man, but I'm interested in seeing if I can bring an investor. I think the numbers make sense on this, and I know a few people on my list that I can just call personally to see if they might be interested in this. Would you be okay if we signed an option contract, which is the kind of document I used, an option contract to get into an agreement with the ability to perform, but with the intention to sell that contract to somebody else. So that's the kind of structure that I use in that deal. And check with your attorney and stuff on all the structures and things like that. I'm not here to give you legal advice or financial, blah, 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 all that stuff. Is everybody with me so far? I talked to John, he had a deal. Yeah, go ahead.
Option contract, can you explain it one more time?
I can't really go into too much because it's kind of something that's a legal structure that I'm not an attorney on, but essentially I'll tell you that it's a contract with, you have the ability to purchase at a certain predetermined price, but you don't have to perform on the contract in terms of actually purchasing the house. You have the option to perform.
Or you could use a marketing fee agreement and just say, for marketing your property, I want $5,000. Yeah, nowadays everybody's so sensitive. Y'all can go kiss my ass. I don't care. Sensitivity now is so stupid. It's damn near just a contract saying, hey, if you sell the property, you perform, you'll get some money.
Right.
And no, I'm not a lawyer or an attorney.
Right. You just got it's like a fine line between acting like an agent and being a broker essentially versus actually being a conduit legally, right? Like structuring a deal where you can legally sell the rights to buy. So that's kind of what I'm describing. The option contract is one way of doing that, but there's other ways of doing it. So yeah, John had this deal. I knew he was a veteran, but I had something that he didn't have. I had the right contacts or other contacts that he didn't know. And I started building relationships with these people because I put them into a system that was sending them little emails every week or every month, a drip campaign, right? So check out drip
autoresponder.
Autoresponders, right? Look into MailChimp,
Aweber. MailChimp is free.
Yeah, these are different tools you can check out, but the concept is you want to be in touch with people and talk and have conversations and get to know what are they looking for, right? So I would ask questions like, hey, hope everything's going well. I mentioned this event. What are you looking to buy? A fix and flip? Are you looking to buy a buy and hold? Hey, let's have a conversation. Can we get together for coffee? Hey, can we get together for lunch? Hey, do you want to have a conversation on the phone today? Whatever. And hey, here's a little thing I can give you some value, so on and so forth. Kind of like how you're doing the lives and stuff. The same concept. Give some value, and then your network's going to start coming to you. You're pulling them in. So that's the kind of marketing that I was doing, and I'm like, all right, now people are asking me questions about getting on the phone, talking about deals, et cetera. I'm getting to know people and how they're buying. At the same time, I'm subliminally learning how people are investing in real estate, so I'm preparing myself for not only that first deal, but the next 100 deals, whatever, and also the fix and flips that I started doing eventually. But bottom line is, John had that deal, I entered into that contract, And I'm like, all right, well, what can I do? Well, his picture, honestly, the picture was like one of those, like the filter that has like a really tan look to it. I don't know what it's called, but it's like it tans out the picture, makes it look really old. It kind of looked like that, but he didn't mean to do that though. Now, I didn't go to the house because I was in Pennsylvania, coincidentally. I lived in New Jersey at the time. I was in my brother-in-law's house in Pennsylvania, 4 hours away. So I technically was doing my first virtual wholesale in a different state, even though I was still doing business in Jersey. I'm sitting at my brother-in-law's desk, and I'm like nervous as hell, and I'm like typing up an email, kind of making it look pretty, trying to make the picture look better, trying to come up with some words to describe the deal. I had already just gotten this contract signed through DocuSign with John, and I'm like, all right, man, this is going to be the moment of truth. Like, I'm going to send this out to 450 people, 500 people on my email list that kind of know me, but they don't know much about me because I haven't given them much value yet. They just know me as a guy sending emails, kind of talk on the phone. Like, who cares, right? Like, I want to buy a deal. So I finally have a deal. I'm like, man, I'm excited. So I send it out, and I wait. I look at the screen, and I'm like waiting for responses. And I got about 15 or 20 people asking questions now. It's like, holy crap, this is working. Like, I actually got people interested in this deal that I never walked into. I never saw the house. To this day, I've never been to the house. It was somewhere in Hillside. It was like 16-something Hillside. I can't remember the address. Compton Terrace, I think it was. So bottom line is, I got those 15 or 20 inquiries. Of those, probably about 3 or 4 were actually legit buyers. That's a whole other conversation. Like vetting them. So I had started thinking about how do I find out these people are legit. So I asked for proof of funds. I asked them to tell me about their past deal, et cetera. There's different ways you could do that. I found this guy, Rich Coven, I think his name was. Yeah, Rich Coven. There's not Rich in the room by chance, is it? I don't think he's in Pennsylvania, but he back 7 years ago, essentially, he was essentially fixing and flipping. He was also doing some wholesale. So I think he took title to the house, but I'm not sure. But what I know is he signed a contract for an assignment though, and we made 10 grand 3 weeks later. So that was what I knew, and I ended up splitting that with the guy John. So I kind of crunched down maybe about 3 to 4 hours of my personal time, which I'm proud about. You guys should also, as you get to these deals, like the cool thing with reverse wholesaling is that you build up a network. Not only can you make repeat business with the same people, but you can shave a lot of time off the time it takes to get a seller in a position to sell you their house, to find the seller, to analyze the deal, to negotiate, to go into contract, all that stuff.
Right.
And then still not be able to get it done because your buyers are just like, hey, you're crazy, out of your mind. So I'd rather not do all that. I'd rather focus on, let me sift through all these like hundreds of quote unquote deals, right? I call myself a wholesale deal aggregator. I aggregate wholesale deals. So if you have wholesale deals in Jersey and Florida, not really Philly, Jabbar's your guy. I would never want to take that away from him. He just went before me. He's a great guy. He's only been doing it for a lot longer than me. But if he doesn't want to buy it, I'll take a look at it. But I don't really have a network in Philly. I have people in mostly Jersey, Central and Northern Jersey, and now I live in Sarasota. So another thing is, I'm probably the one that traveled the farthest to be here. I think I'm just saying that because
I get deals in Florida too.
You get stuff in Florida, so
You do it long enough, they send you a lot everywhere.
yeah. So kind of like connecting the dots a little bit. So again, corporate IT, procurement. I'm kind of all over here, but reverse wholesaling is real. I think that the group here, I don't know what everyone is. Who's like a novice at wholesale? Who's like trying to just get to the next step? I just want to get a temperature check of the room for a second. All right. So what's like the number one thing you learned tonight? What's the next question that you haven't had answered yet? Because I can kind of do it that way, I think, to get you some additional value. Go for it.
Writing the contract.
How do you write a contract?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to use that in a second to segue into something else about a strategy to find deals that I told to somebody else in the back. But I promise I'll answer that question in a second. Is there another question first? Yeah.
I've been wholesale for like a year.
Mhm.
Have you started like in texting at all? Or
I've done texting. It's spotty. I mean, I use Lead Sherpa. I did it. I spent
Got batch leads, Lead Sherpa.
I tried that.
Lion Desk.
I never heard of
I'm an IS major, so I'm a nerd. Technically a nerd. So Lion Desk is like, I want to say it's $99 a month, and you can text. It'll pull a list for you, and it'll send a text, but it also has a CRM to it.
Yep.
And then you have a Deal Machine, Prop Stream, same thing.
Yeah, I used like text magic before. I never used it. What was it, Lion?
Lion Desk. You can find it up on them.
Is like property?
It's more of a CRM though.
Yeah.
CRM is a customer management system.
You like that better than Polio?
Zenco is more of a dialer. But he's talking about more of a CRM.
So Lion Desk is like a smart person who does wholesaling created Lion Desk. So a lot of tools that are better than normal are ones that wholesalers created. So it was a wholesaler who said, I wish I could do this, this, and this, and it has like automatic response to text machine. I'm just saying it because it's something simpler to use than everybody else, but you got to try what works for you and your personality. My personality is I just text and call. I have it all, but I use my own phone for everything.
So to kind of build off of that, I'm gonna do what I used to do when I still do my business now. Is I want to take complicated stuff and kind of simplify it. So I think that's what Jabbar's doing, but I'm also gonna do that in the concept of just a process because some of you guys might be like lost a little bit, even though you may not realize how much value. I swear, I promise you, but like wholesaling and real estate in general, like if you want to take a note of this, I'd recommend there's 5 simple steps, and I think that you guys tell me if you disagree or not, but First step is I gotta find a deal, I gotta do some sort of marketing or relationship building to find a deal, find an opportunity, a potential thing I can purchase or I can wholesale, okay, number one. Number two is I gotta perform some analysis on that opportunity. If I'm a buyer to buy to rent, to hold it as a rental, or I'm gonna fix it up, or if I'm gonna wholesale it, I gotta know both fix and flip and buy and hold, unless I know I'm working with just one kind of buyer. But if you're working with both fix and flip renovators and you're also working with landlords, you gotta know how to analyze both fix and flip and buy and hold. That's number two. And the quick thing on that is if you check out Deal Check, we're an affiliate with Deal Check. If you want me to share my link, it's
Go ahead. No, man.
runyournumbers.com is my website that just directs you over to Deal Check. And it's like, I think I make like $1 a month if you sign up for a big deal. But point is that deal, I swear, that Deal Check link, that Deal Check system has literally helped me raise millions of dollars for my own projects, like legitimately, because I use it to analyze my deals and I show my investors that lend capital and invest capital with me.
And I have that on my phone too. I can show y'all too.
Yeah,
Deal
it's very
Check.
cool on your phone. You can do it on the computer. You can share a link. It's a report. It's
Runnumbers.com?
runyournumbers.com.
Okay.
That tool is stellar. It's so inexpensive, and it's free actually for the first 15 reports, and then you can just pay for if you want.
I think it's like $12 or $15 a month. It's something cheap.
It's ridiculously cheap. So that's
Cheap.
a super powerful thing for the price paying. So that's going to help you analyze. Number two, but you got to, like Jabbar mentioned, I think, like Sean mentioned, you got to get to know real numbers. So like that's another thing that I kind of sucked at in the beginning. I didn't know how much things cost. I had a 2-family in Piscataway that I tried wholesaling that I thought was going to cost $15,000 or $20,000 to renovate it, and I got now what I know it would cost me $70,000 or $80,000 because I didn't know what things cost. Right, I just had my own house I lived in, and that was it. So find a contractor or find an investor that you can kind of work side by side with, and then have them help you plug the numbers in based on what they expect for it to cost. And then they could potentially be your buyer too. Like a contractor is actually a great buyer because they understand construction and they potentially could be a buyer too. But then the third step is negotiation. I don't know if you guys heard, but almost every single person up here so far, including myself, all we really do is find opportunities and analyze them and then do a really good job negotiating our price, our fee into the deal. Right? We're not adding a commission on top. I don't think we are. I'm not. I don't think you are. You got to negotiate into a fee to where you create a spread, and that just comes from understanding the situation of the seller and understanding how the buyer can be influenced to make a decision to pay a little bit more. So like I had a deal, for example, in Rockaway, New Jersey, where it was like we were at a stalemate. The buyer wanted to offer $195, and the seller wanted, or we had to sell it for $205 to make $5,000, I think, on that deal. And so what I did is I got on the phone and I just negotiated each of them $5K the opposite direction, and I think we ended up making like a few $1,000, whatever the math was, or something like that. It was basically I negotiated one side $5K up, and I negotiated one side $5K down, and I built my fee into the deal. So you could do that too. Like you don't just have to negotiate just the seller, or just the buyer. You got to negotiate the whole thing because you're sitting right in the middle as a wholesaler, whether you're direct to the seller or direct to the buyer, or both potentially.
And a key in that is also if you have newbie wholesalers, they're always they're going to price things just to lock up a deal. Some people just want to lock up a deal, and you know that you have a buyer at 185, but they got it at 185.
Right. So
you go back to them and say, hey, listen, make sure that your buyer can close. Hey, can you close in 2 weeks? The buyer says yes. You check proof of funds. You show them, look, we got a buyer can close in 2 weeks.
Right.
Let me negotiate, talk to the seller. You can send me the deal and say, hey, Jabbar, can you try to get a better number?
He's been doing it for so much longer. He feels more comfortable. He knows the numbers. He knows how to say the words. It's all about.
And you're for reflections in your voice. If you're not confident, I'm going to say a higher number for your incompetence.
Absolutely.
Because you're making me nervous. So I'm like, man, I deal with you. Shit. All right, give me 185. I'll get on the phone. Hey, did you see the Eagles? Oh, man, fucking Ben Simmons missed 5 shots.
Right.
And now I'm building a rapport. What do you really need for this? I can probably get it closed out at 75. All right, Jabbar, well, I really need 75 is my bottom line number. Cool. I got it for 75. Now I sell it for 180. We actually made money. And then that feeling of confidence makes you talk more confident in your conversation. And then they feel like, okay, you can do the deal. But if you're not confident, people sense that, so they're going to charge you for not being confident.
And also, and kind of a trick question, I think I know the answer, but how much do you charge to do that with somebody if they're working the deal with you?
I usually charge 50%.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, I get half.
You paid for performance, right?
Yeah.
You get paid for performance and the contacts potentially if he has a contact that wants to.
And if I need to make the numbers work, I'll do $2,500. I mean, or whatever. I've done a deal for $500 just to make the investor happy,
What I mean is
keep
like
my
you have to
relationship.
come out of pocket to pay an expert negotiator in your same exact niche in your industry. Like that's not common in every industry. I'm sure other people in different trades in different parts of the world, like it's not the case. Like you don't have to pay for the time for someone that has the right answer to get the deal closed. That's pretty cool. I'm going to get to my point about answering your question in a second. And the fourth step, number 4, is getting under contract, right? That's where we're entering into. But that comes from making an offer, right? Which is key. You said the guy, what's his name again? The guy who's buying 7 properties a week?
Drew.
Drew. So Drew's offering probably 1,000 or whatever he said, 25 offers a week to get 7 under contract or something like that. He's offering on every single house that he sees. So even if you can't figure it out right now, make an offer, plant the seed. Offerings is like from a sales pipeline perspective, you're planting a seed. to let somebody know you're serious about moving forward. Hey, if I can close in 30 days, I'm gonna offer you this number. It may or may not work for you, but I'm ready to close. Here's a contract. I may even sign it before I send it to them, right? Just sign it and send it out, potentially. But you want to put an expiration, that's just my suggestion, so it doesn't just linger. I had one deal where the seller signed on the contract, this case was a direct deal, for like 3 months. And like, oh, remember that contract we signed, that it's actually already been expired since we were supposed to close, but we never signed it. We want to sign it now. They just signed it on DocuSign. And it was an interesting surprise. I'm like, we have to do something now. So we at least opened the discussion. The seller was reasonable. We got the deal closed after a couple more weeks. We weren't ready to close at that point because it wasn't going to be a deal we flip. As far as fix and flip, we were going to flip that to somebody else. But anyway, the point is plant that seed, make the offer, which leads into the contract. So again, I'm not an attorney, so I just want to put that very clear. I'm not a real estate agent either. Although I'm a partner in a brokerage, I'm a partner in a title insurance company. So I do have some responsibilities in that part to consider. But I'll tell you from my personal experience, right, very important, that with contracts, you can keep it super simple. I don't know what these guys' opinions are. A simple, like 2 or 3 page contract for what we call FSBO, for sell by owner. If you're going direct to a owner, I outline the following few things in every contract, no matter what. Like your entity, which I recommend consider always have an entity or one that you're going to form. Never put under your name. Some guys might disagree. I don't know how you structure your deals, but I want to have some level of protection if I do have to perform or if I have an issue come up legally. I want to have an LLC personally. I can create an LLC later, but I want to put on the contract that LLC's name so I can have that be the entity. I need to have the seller's information, obviously. I need to have the fact that I'm going to close by a certain date, which is my closing timeline. I need to have the price I'm buying it for. And I got to know the earnest money deposit, whatever that's going to be. And I got to know also my inspection period. Those are like some of the key principles from a business standpoint that you have to have outlined in a contract. But all the things I just said are going to be things you negotiate on the phone first, and then you put in memorialize into a contract.
And an inspection period,
yeah.
just make sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things people get nervous about putting things on the contract, make sure give yourself a time to get out the contract. Somewhere on there say, I have 14 days, 5 days, whatever. And if this is too much work, I can back out the deal. You want to give yourself that escape route. So you don't have to close, but if you are going to back out the deal after you do it, try to help the seller. Because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of you is to help the seller get out of their problem or situation. Refer to a realtor. If you can't do the deal, don't just say, oh, a lot of people let these deals go. I refer them to realtors and make sure that the real estate agent and the seller actually work out something.
Exactly. Now, to pull it together, I think we got to wrap up soon, but just to kind of, right? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
So check this out. So I'll give you guys a little.
We're at 5.
We
We got to get 5.
0.5?
Yeah.
5, I'm going to get to that. So, okay. I promise I'm not going that long. Everybody else will really
No,
long.
I
I'm trying to
know.
pump all together.
You're good.
I'm usually pretty long, but I'm going kind of short. Okay. So check this out. So if you guys want like a template, I can forward it to you. Probably anybody up here could. But if you send me an email, my email address that's not on the card that's in the thing I gave you, I'll tell you about that in a second, is Doug, D-O-U-G.